Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video on Gran Turismo 7. I'm back with a daily race C at Spa. It's a fuel saver and we're going for the win in a bit of an unusual car. Well, I say unusual because the Peugeot is a brilliant car for time trial, but as Calster says there, wrong time for me to try and do what he knew I was trying to do. He knew I was trying to go for the win with the RCZ from the front of the grid against the Mazdas. However, Calster in the Mazda is going to be an extremely hard person to beat because the Mazda is the OP car for this race. In terms of fuel saving, it's got just abnormal amount and ability to save fuel. The Peugeot is pretty good at fuel saving, but it's not in the league of the Mazda. So that Mazda can just really go a lot faster on the straights, and the Peugeot has to do fuel saving a little bit different. But this is going to be a fun one. Make sure you watch this race all the way to the end. Absolutely great race. But yeah, if you do enjoy these videos, hit that subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future content. So straight away, first thing I wanted to do was try and get ourselves away, as far away from that slipstream as possible. As you can see, I actually pushed a bit on the opening first stint here. Got the gap up to 1 second because then that should be able to give me enough time to defend into the braking zone at the end of the main straight up here. So you can see, you're going to watch on the straights, just watch how much he gains on the straight, because the Mazda can really push on the straights, and the Mazda's a short shifting car that will keep accelerating when you short shift. The Peugeot doesn't accelerate very well when you short shift. So you can see myself now, I've got that gap covered, so I'm going into mixture 4 because this section here is where the Peugeot is a lot faster. As Calster makes a little bit of an error there. He goes too deep into the corner, and that's going to lose him some time, especially through here where the Peugeot, this is its strength. This is where you need to take advantage, and this is where I'm doing my fuel saving, because I know that I can pull away from the Mazda even though I'm fuel saving during this phase. So that's why I'm doing it. And one thing I will say, if you're going to go for a run in this Peugeot around this track, you do need to be prepared to do a lot of mixture changing. So if you don't like doing that, honestly, stick with the Mazda. But I will tell you that the Peugeot can make this race work. It's just not very easy. You really have to make sure that you're carrying momentum through the corners and short shifting when in mixture 1 and 2, and then just making sure when you're in them higher mixtures, you're really carrying speed through the corners. But you can see at the moment, we've got that gap up to the Mazda to around 1.2 seconds. Now, this is pretty ideal because at this point, we've got enough of a gap, as you can see there, to just keep him out the slipstream. Now, that is so essential in this race for myself and the Peugeot, because if he gets in the slipstream early on, he can fuel save, and that Mazda will just be unstoppable and unbeatable at the end. So what I'm trying to do here is push as much as I can on the straights. You can see he's getting close to the slipstream, and then as soon as we get through to a braking zone, lift and coast into the corners. That is very advisable for fuel saving. And then as soon as we get on the throttle, we're going to try and pull away again, because we get, again, this Peugeot is a little bit stronger in some of the traction areas compared to that Mazda. You can see again, we've got that gap back up to 1.3 seconds. Now the slipstream is around 1.2 seconds, so it's vital that I try and keep him out of that range for as long as possible. So into turn 1, on the throttle nice and early, trying to get a good exit from the corner, and you can see that gap is now at 1.3 seconds again. So he's going to be in the slipstream in a short while, as he can accelerate a lot more aggressively on the straights. You can see he's back in that slipstream now, and then we're going to work our way up the hill now and up through the top of the hill. Now, as I come through the top of the hill, I was really confused at this penalty because I took way more off that top of that corner in previous laps on other races and not got a single penalty, but we picked up a half-second penalty. Really, it's almost like the track limits are a bit broken. They are there, but I've seen people go straight over that top of that hill and not pick up a penalty. So there's something with the track limits on this game that need a little bit of refinement. But fair enough, we did probably cut over it a tiny bit, but like I say, I've done a lot worse and not got any sort of penalty. But that is going to mean that Calster is now going to be right behind us. But what you can see I do is I try and push quite aggressively through here, and then as we come through this right-hand corner, you can see, luckily for us, there's another driver in a Peugeot who goes for the move on Calster that's clearly on a one-stop strategy. So he's not a threat to us, but it holds him up a little bit there. So we're going to come through this corner, get into mixture 1, and try and give ourselves enough of a gap to stay ahead of Calster once we take this penalty. So this is going to put us right back into Calster's range, and probably Calster will be in the slipstream. So you're going to take the penalty. The other Peugeot is going to go straight past us now. He's on that aggressive approach. I can tell straight away. It's so easy to tell by a car's behaviour when they're on a one-stop strategy and the way they drive. And the fact that he overtook Calster as well, I knew that very unlikely the Peugeot is going to be able to do much overtaking on the Mazda if they're both on a no-stop strategy. So yeah, Calster now right behind us. P1 goes a little bit wide into corner. That's great for me because that means I get back into that slipstream. You see, well and truly into the slipstream, And now I can push a little bit, and my aim here now is to try and stay in his slipstream of P1 and see if we can stay with him as long as possible, and then try and get rid of Calster if possible. But as we come to the braking zone, Calster misses his brakes ever so slightly, hits us in the rear, knocks us wide a bit, and that is going to lose me the slipstream. Now, it was an accident by Calster. I don't think he did that deliberate. It was just one of them things where he misbraked slightly and just tapped us, but it did lose us that slipstream, which was quite annoying, because now on this map, I think it was a tactical move by Calster just so he could get past on this straight. I'm only joking, people, don't take that serious. So yeah, Calster's now going to go for the move. I actually let him go here because I think I might as well save fuel behind him. So I go into mixture 6, let him through. I don't really want to defend this. I want him to just take the position, and I'll sit in his slipstream for as long as possible and try and get my fuel back under control. You can see we're a little bit low on fuel, so at this point I need to try and recoup some of the fuel back. So we're going into mixture 6, and we're going to try and save as much fuel as we physically can behind him, but we need to stay in that slipstream at the same time. So you can see through this section, still in mixture 6, that is how good this car is through some of these corners. You can actually sit in the slipstream in mixture 6 and bring back that fuel. So now we're going to go up to about a little bit higher on the mixture setting there, just to be able to stay with him on this acceleration zone. And then we're into this really fast left-hand corner, which again is RCZ territory. It's the type of corner the RCZ loves. So again, we're in mixture 3. We're not going to go down to mixture 1. We don't need to. We know that we can stay with that Mazda through this next section by using higher mixtures. So again, trying to save some of that fuel. Looking at the replay camera again, we've got another car right behind us again there, and that's another Mazda that's going to be close to this battle. But again, Spa looking absolutely amazing on GT7. Again, through to the final section, you see just enough of a gap to the car behind, but we're still firmly in Calster's slipstream. So we've got that slipstream all the way for this back straight, picking it up all the way down the back straight here, and then we'll be going into the final chicane, hopefully right behind him. So you can see, going to rejoin the action back onto the main camera as we come through this flat out left hand corner. And again, just look at how good this game looks, absolutely stunning. So yeah, into the braking zone. Calster's going to try and break the slipstream here. He's going to jump over that curb, and I think he jumps over it ever so slightly too much, because again, another really strange penalty for Calster. He picks up a 1.5 second penalty. So Calster will be kicking himself for that penalty, because I think without that, it would have been extremely hard for me to even compete with that Mazda. You can see I'm just trying to stay with him really in the slipstream, which I think we can do, because we can use our fuel wisely. We can just use our fuel to stay in the slip on the straights, and then just save fuel when we're going through the corners, because we know that this car is better through the corner sections. But now that penalty is really going to hurt him. So you can see at the top of the hill, what we're doing here is we're in mixture 1, and we're just short shifting enough just to make sure we stay with him 1.2 seconds. As long as I stay 1.2 seconds behind him, I know through the cornering section that he will not be able to pull away in that Mazda, because the RCZ is just better. It's a faster car around this track overall in terms of outright pace. But like I say, if you had a straight race between these two with this fuel saving settings, I will pick the Mazda all day. I think overall in the race, probably about 4 to 5 seconds quicker in race pace than the Peugeot, but we're going to do our best here to try and compete with him, especially now that Calster has that penalty. And we obviously know that P1's pulling away, but to be honest, we knew that he wasn't a threat. I think Calster knew that as well. Calster knew that he's clearly on a one-stop, so there was no worrying about that car, because the one-stop just doesn't work. You pit, you lose 30 seconds, you ain't getting that time back. So through this long left-hand corner again, into mixture 2, and just trying to save fuel behind him. Again, we can just stay with him so much easier through the corners. We're not even really pushing the car. Again, into this section, which is all about handling, braking just on that 50 board down the left. Fourth gear, then third gear, into mixture 3, keeping it nice and smooth. And we're actually gaining on him, even though we're driving really, really calmly and just short shifted in mixture 3. So back into mixture 1 for this section. This is where the Peugeot was particularly weak. You can see on this back straight here now, this is where the car was really struggling for pace. So we're going to get on that throttle, rev it out to about 130, and then shift gear on about 130 there. And you see Calster's going to take that penalty now, and that is going to cost him absolutely massively. You can see he's down to 2, he's going to be about 2 seconds behind us when he gets back up to speed. So I decided to push a little bit there, then go back into the fuel save. We've got the gap up to 2.2 seconds. So Calster is going to need to use some fuel really to get back into our slipstream. So this is going to be a very tense race. There's P1 off into the pits, and this is going to show you the advantage of not pushing too much. You can see he had, I think, 9% fuel. We've got 48% fuel at the same time. So basically 40% more fuel than him. So he's out of this race. he's not going to be competing for any sort of top 3 or anything, because he's going to lose so much time in the pits. And yeah, we're just going to carry on now with this race and see if we can hold off Calster and that other Mazda that's behind him. So again, this is going to be quite tense. We've got to work this fuel perfectly to make this work. So again, we're going to play it tactically, try and keep him out of the slipstream on the straights, and then through the corners, fuel save as much as I physically can, and just try and hold that gap off and try and increase it sometimes. So you can see what we're doing again. We're into that mixture free through the cornering sections, and this is why I say the Mazda's an easier option for fuel saving if you don't want to mess around with the fuel mixture, because with the Peugeot you've got to be getting into mixture 1 really early, then back up to mixture 3, sometimes mixture 4. You've got to move it around a lot. You've got to be willing to do it, and this is where the Fanatec GT Pro actually really comes into its own, a bit like the TGT used to be quite good at fuel saving. I actually prefer how the GTD does it now though. I used to find on the TGT the little circle knobs that you used to have to turn were not the best. They used to sometimes go too far, but with the GT Pro it's just a simple click up and down, and it works a treat. I really enjoy it. It's so much better for fuel saving than obviously a normal CSL, for example. So we skipped a little bit further ahead in the race, and you can see we've got that gap, and we're just trying to cover it, as like we say, using the higher mixtures through the corners, and then using a little bit more fuel during the straights. And we're going to little look on the replay camera, we can see that we've got that gap at the moment. You can see how hard we're pushing. Even though we're in that mixture 3, you can see the body movement through the corners. I was trying to push at the moment in this RCZ. I knew there was an opportunity for this to get a win in this race, so I am going 100% attack. Even though we're in mixture 3, we're using the full width of the track. We're pushing through the corners, and you can really see it on the RCZ's body movements through the corners. We're using that full width, where every bit of track we're trying to use, and we're trying to push. And I was feeling a bit of pressure at this stage because I could see my fuel mixture. It's down to 2.2. We've got over 2 laps to go. I know that we're running low on fuel, but I know that I've got to keep him behind for the straight. So I have to keep using mixture 1 on these straights to make sure that I can keep a gap to him. So again, you can see keeping that gap over 1.3 seconds is so important. That's what we're doing. He's gaining into every straight zone, but as soon as we get to the corner, 1.3 seconds of gap, and then as soon as we get to here, we need to increase that gap back up to 1.4, 1.5 seconds, which we do. And this is what we've got to keep doing all the way to the finish. This is a really intense race with Calster. Calster obviously on the pad, so those that don't know, Calster is one of the fastest pad drivers out there probably at the moment. I think Daniel Solis as well is probably a little bit faster, but yeah, Calster is a very good pad player, and he will only keep improving on GT7. I expect him to be right up there in top split by, you know, after the first 6 months or so. He'll really pick up his pace like he did on GT Sport. So yeah, we're going for, again, for lap 7, 2 more laps to go. He did get in the slipstream on the end of that straight, but you can see again, as soon as we get to the cornering section, we're able to increase that gap back up to 1.2, 1.3 seconds, and this is what's vital. Calster obviously does need to do some fuel saving because he's had to push with that penalty. That means he's had to push a little bit more on the fuel because the penalty's dropped him back, so he's had to use that one mixture probably and a little bit more aggressive than he probably would have liked. But yeah, this is going to be an incredibly close finish. You can see we're in mixture 1, into mixture 2, mixture 3, and now this is where we need to hold that gap around 1.2 to 1.3 seconds all the way through this section. So pushing like crazy with this car at the moment. I have to say, I was driving this car as well as I could because we just jumped on for a quick race. I didn't expect someone like Calster to be in this race, so I was a little bit shocked when I saw him, and I was like, oh, we're going to have to really drive the wheels off this RCZ to beat that Mazda in this race. But we are driving pretty well at the moment. We got a little bit of luck with that penalty for Calster. We have to be honest with that. Without that penalty for Calster, this would have been an incredibly hard battle. I know we could have stayed with him in the slip, but the problem would have been being able to pass him, because to push on the fuel on the straights for the RCZ would have used a lot of fuel up. You can see at the moment Calster very close to the back of my car. They're 7 tenths away. Again, we had to push here now. So you're going to see I actually have to rev out mixture 1 a bit and just sacrifice some fuel. And it's a sacrifice we have to do because we cannot let him get too close to the back of the car on the long straight. He's going to pick up too much of a slipstream. So through turn 1, again, we're going to have to push out of the exit, which we're going up to 50% throttle there, which is more than what we should be doing. But again, I have to sacrifice the fuel now for the straight to save the fuel during the corner. So again, you can see he's obviously pushing behind. He's gaining. 7 tenths behind, 6 tenths behind. This is going to be close. We're going to the left, then back over to the right. We're going to try and break that slipstream ever so much, as much as we physically can. And now we're going to stay to the right as he's going to get that slipstream and go to the left-hand side of the track. You can see how close he is. He picks up a bit more slipstream. He's going to try and go around the outside. We managed to just about hold on to the inside line, and now this is where we can fuel save again, because like I say, this is the Peugeot territory, so I have to recoup all that fuel that I've just used. So you can see intermixture 4, intermixture 5. I need to save fuel, because look at the fuel situation right now. We have got 5% fuel left in this Peugeot, which is not enough. I can tell you now, that is not enough to get to the end, so I need to save fuel as much as possible. Intermixture 5, and now we're going to have to just stay in mixture 5. But what I noticed was that Corsair clearly had to do fuel saving as well. He's clearly saving some fuel to try and push on that back straight, so I need to save fuel at the same point. So we're both in this little battle at the moment of saving as much fuel as we can. I'm into mixture 6 saving fuel. He's probably doing the same through the corners, and then we're probably going to both be using as much as we can dare use on that back straight, which at the moment looks like I'm not going to be able to use much because I am on 3% fuel. I am struggling here. We're going to be close to running out of fuel, but I want to get this win. I need to try my hardest to get this win. So intermixture 1, we're going to try and get a bit of a gap here to build up, so he has to push as much as he can at the end. So you can see we're running on 1% fuel. I need to save fuel. I knew that I couldn't make it to the end, so I'm into mixture 3. I realised that we're in a bad situation here. Mixture 6, which is going to be so slow on the straight. Just look in the rear view mirror and you're going to see Corsair approaching at almost lightning speed behind us. He's going to gain. He's going to go to the left hand side of the track. He's going to try and hang it around the outside. He decides not to do it. He's going to try and get a better exit off the final corner. So both of us clearly fuel saving like mad, and on the final corner we both get on the power and we both run out of fuel at the exact same time, but we managed to take the win. In the RCZ, you can see the closest RCZ to us was all the way down in 6th position behind Rory, over 20 seconds behind us, and that shows you how good a job we did. 26 seconds behind us, that's a long way behind, and that shows you the job that we did in the RCZ. So very happy with that, taking the win against Corsair. And yeah, I look forward to racing more times against Corsair in the future. Always good battles with him. So if you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all soon. Bye everyone.